So, hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of In Conversation With. My name is John Lunn, aka Jonnychipz, and in this video series, we talk all things cloud with experts and advocates from right across the industry, covering a wide variety of topics from skills and careers through to technical overviews and softer skills. So, whether you're watching this on YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, or LinkedIn, thanks so much for tuning in. Really is appreciated. Please do take part in the chat below. Drop us a comment, a like and a subscribe. That would be absolutely awesome. Okay, so my next guest is a senior cloud advocate at Microsoft at the moment, and he's a huge AI and IoT developer advocate. He can be found across the social community, helping others understand those core concepts, as well as showing us some awesome use cases and how to get started with this awesome tech area. So based out of Ontario in Canada, I'm super happy to welcome my next guest on In Conversation With, is Mr. Bruno Capuano. Hey Bruno, how you doing? Thanks so much for joining me.
Hey Johnny, I'm fine. No, thanks for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Oh no, absolutely, anytime, Bruno. Like I said just before we hit record there, it was like I watched so much of your content over the last year or so. It's so awesome. I love the whole world of IoT, AI, and you're doing some absolutely awesome things at the minute, Bruno. So it's all my pleasure, to be honest, having you on as a guest. It's great. Look, we got some great topic areas to talk around, but I suppose to kick things off, do you want to give yourself a little bit more of a broader introduction? Let us know, kind of maybe how you got to where you are in tech today. What's your career history been like?
Yeah, sure. So long story short, because it's probably a long story after plus 20 years doing this. I've been a developer, I've been a programmer all my life. Was born and raised in Argentina, moved to Spain 70 years ago, something like this, and moved to Canada 6 years ago. And I've been close to the Microsoft ecosystem all the time. So if you ask me, I will probably say that I am a C# developer, but mostly in the last 6 or more years, 7 years probably, I've been doing a lot of Python because I started to like machine learning. And I've been in consulting, working in big companies, doing programming, doing architectural, whatever. I've been always a developer. But in the side of all of this, I like to have fun with devices. I like to tinker with stuff. So remember, I did in my early days, when I was starting to program, I did a lot of C++. And it was a pleasure 10 years ago, 12 years ago, when the first Microsoft Kinect was in the market, that we didn't have an official SDK. I was part of a huge community, and I think that this was my first collaboration in an open source project globally. There was no GitHub, there was anything there. I think this was SourceForge, but we created a non-official Kinect SDK in C++. And then I started to get back in love with C++, and from year to year, what I do, I pick up a device, try to find a silly scenario, like you've probably seen, if you've seen me this year playing with my squirrel in my background with the feeder and Azure IoT. And I like to learn while I am doing this fun stuff. I always think that you can learn because you need to work and you need to do your ABCs. But if you find something fun or with excuse to learn, it's something super cool. So that's why today I am doing a lot of AI and IoT, because there is a huge market there. I mean, we can do AI in a very small scale, but in a very small device, and it's blowing my mind. As part of this process, after, as I said, 20 years as a consultant, last year I decided I had a super amazing opportunity to come and work to Microsoft doing Cloud Advocate, which is basically talking with communities and helping communities to grow, to get in contact with product, to manage feedback, to working with communities. I love to be part and help communities. So here I am, 5 months later, working as a cloud advocate in Microsoft in Ontario. And it's a super fun ride because I didn't even expect this. My idea initially when I joined Microsoft was to support the Canadian communities. And Canada is big, is super big. I mean, a flight from, I live in a small town near Toronto. A flight from Toronto to London is probably 6.5 hours. A flight from Toronto to Vancouver, which is in the other direction and still in Canada, it's 5.5 or 6 hours. So moving myself to Europe or to the end of Canada is at the same time. But hey, it's an amazing ride. Canada is great. I have the chance also to work back with Latin American communities, which was an unexpected surprise. And hey, I'm still having fun playing with my IoT devices and AI. It's super. It's an amazing and fun journey.
Yeah, but Bruno, shouldn't everybody be having this kind of fun with their job? I think the one thing for me, and which is what I hooked in, for those that have been following me for any length of time, there's some super awesome community folk over here in the UK that I kind of just hooked onto their tailcoat and thought I'm going for this ride, because you mentioned there finding like a fun or a quirky scenario or creative idea to kind of make some of these things work. Surely that's part of the learning process, and it helps others, to understand, kind of how you might apply some of this tech and what that actually means. So you touched on, a few little areas there about AI being able to be run off really small devices. I mean, let's talk around that, Bruno. Why is that an important thing, do you think, moving forward into the future that we're kind of heading towards at the moment?
Hey, I think that AI people always think that, and I am not going to go deep in, we are afraid that machine learning and AI robot is going to take over the world. That's not my speech. My speech that, hey, we can improve the quality of application, the quality of life. We can improve a lot of stuff thanks to AI. And AI used to be kind of a field that was only 10 years ago, maybe more, was only to very specific groups, to very smart people doing A, B, and C. Today, you don't need to know any machine learning theory to do machine learning. You can pick up any platform that help you, if you are a developer, in example, to help you to create an image classification, whatever. You only need to basically get your images all together and you create a project there, and then you have a model to, in my case, to basically see that is in the feeder that I have in my backyard, I have a squirrel, or I have a bird, or I have a raccoon. And hey, you don't need to learn. You don't even need to be a programmer to do this. There are tools like in the Power Platform, you can do these kind of things, and you are not a developer. And I think that all of these layers of abstraction that we have right now, these ecosystems and these kind of stuff, are helping us to create much better applications, to create better scenarios. And it's not just about, as we said, identifying a squirrel or a raccoon. We can grow a lot. We can start to do, if you are working, I don't know, if you're working in a place that you are building, I don't know, dishwasher. Why not add a camera there to take a look if you are really finishing cleaning everything? Or why not do ABCs or getting data? We have data all around us. And hey, everything that we are doing with AI there are a lot of good parts of AI. There are a lot of amazing things that we can do, which is great. But I really like that also 5 years ago, maybe a little more, all of these models, all of these AI scenarios need to be supported by very powerful hardware, which makes sense. But in the last 5 years, for me mostly, and remember, I am not a professional, I am kind of an aficionado here, which have fun. I started to realize that, hey, there are techniques, there are platforms, there are frameworks or whatever that help us to move these machine learning models to small devices. So we can run this image analytics, this computer vision model in an Arduino device. So I don't need to pick up the photos from my backyard, send it to the cloud to be analyzed if this is a squirrel, a raccoon, or a bird. I can run this in my Arduino. And the Arduino device is a super cheap device, low power consumption. Of course, the quality of the model is not the same. But hey, this open a world of opportunities to start to think, okay, I can do this on the edge right now. I can do these AI scenarios on the edge. And for me, this is super cool. And I'm just talking about crappy scenarios like squirrel or bird or raccoon. But hey, if you have a small sensor attached to one of your water pipes in your house, you're going to start to get telemetry how the water is throw in there, you're going to start to get this information. You can create an anomaly detection machine learning model. And if at some moments you have, I don't know, a leak on the night or a leak during the day, you can the model can raise the hand, say, there is something wrong here. I don't know what, but this is not the usual platform. And this is all running on your house for probably $4 or something like this, $5. It's amazing. Again, you can do this by yourself, which I like it. And probably grow from there, have a product or whatever. It's crazy. And just to finish, what I've seen, and I always try to spend once a week, a couple of hours there, I go to Kickstarter, Indiegogo, or whatever new product platform to go there and see what's new and trendy. And you see a lot of very cool devices. That some of the devices doesn't make sense, but they are following this path. They realize that hardware is cheap right now. I know that we have a chip. We are lacking of chips globally. It's getting better there, but the hardware is cheap. Machine learning is cheap. You can run machine learning on the edge. So hey, think an idea, pick up an idea, go for there, learn, do something fun, and hey, maybe there is an opportunity there to build something great.
I think, it's just, look, the passion and the enthusiasm for this tech, I don't know what it is, but it just seems to be AI, IoT. There's some really awesome people out there doing this and are really passionate about it. And it's really inspired me to look into it. I think one of the key things for me was I kind of realized all of a sudden, as much as there's those technological things that you might need to learn or might need to know, whether it be, programming concepts or programming basics. You mentioned the Power Platform. Well, maybe we don't need so much of those skills anymore, or, potentially to get started. But look, these things help. So there's a learning curve to go into. But one of the key things I felt is that all of a sudden now, this creative imagination to actually look at a problem or a real world problem, like you said, you wanted on a bird feeder to kind of distinguish between different animals that might be, on that bird feeder and dispense the food when, the correct animal is looking for it. But that relates into business today. I mean, how do you see that uptake? When you talk to communities at the moment within your current capacity, how do you see the uptake of IoT and AI to actually, solve those real business, real world problems at the moment? Do you have much exposure on that level, Bruno, in terms of where we're going on that side?
Yes, back in my previous life, 6 months ago, I work in consultant, and part of my job was basically to support clients to do this. And a big consulting company, mostly big banks, financial services, or whatever. But when I had the chance to choose my clients, and I want to quote client because it's not client, it was mostly collaboration, was try to help people who has this, or teams that have these crazy ideas, to see, hey, this makes sense or this doesn't make sense. And there is a lot of business there. There is a lot of business around, in example, big construction crews that can deploy a couple of small sensors and start to track how people, how devices, how equipment are moving inside of a building scenario. And hey, just with that, you can start to track if someone, or I don't know, let's go to the simple and crappy scenario. Where did I lost my hammer? I know it doesn't exist, but where it is? Hey, you deploy a system that you can track stuff. This is very small tags, like what we see today with Apple tags. I think is the name of the Apple one, that you have the tags. Hey, and you can see, oh no, you know what? This is there. Oh, and you cross this with schedule, you cross this. Who is going to use this, whatever very big piece of equipment? This is here right now. No, it needs to be there at 2 p.m. Oh my God, but to move this A to B, we need 30 minutes. So you can do a lot of stuff. And hey, even in security, if you have these not safe zones, you can start to avoid that. Okay, equipment can be there, but if you find the person going there, you raise a hand and say, you're not supposed to be here, trigger whatever, shut down this device, shut down this machine. And it's all tracking people. And as I said, you only need a crappy tag like the Apple. It's not the Apple. You can move to more professional ones. And hey, you're going to start to do this. And you know what? And we've just been talking about this. When we talk with the client to do this, we did a partnership to track movement, people's devices and everything with a company that basically creating hardware for tracking hockey players, because the technology exists 10 years or more ago. And when you see a nice hockey match on TV and you see the people moving and you see probably the names or whatever on top, and hey, they've been using this in other fields for a long time. In this case, it's sports. And you can think about how can I use this on, on a hospital or a big organization or whatever. The technology is there. We just need to figure out how to use it. So it's hard to do something new, but it's easy to connect the dots between two existing whatever to solve a problem. And as I said, I didn't even know that the company that we used to work and the company that we have an agreement, their main technology was used in tracking sport players, which was crazy. Yeah. And you know also how fast is ice hockey.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's super fast. Yeah. And the puck, I, to be honest with you, 6 years in Canada, I still can't figure out where is everything. I see people moving here, there. But hey, this is a very fast technology, super accurate. They are tracking the puck, they are tracking the players. Same technology in different scenario can help for health and safety, can help for logistic and for other stuff. It's all wins from there. And what you are doing new there, probably nothing. Just connecting the dots. Hey, we have some fun because we created a new layer on top of Azure IoT to do this. They never work with Azure IoT, but hey, it's already there. Just need to figure out how to also use it.
But it's back to that point, isn't it? I think it's just, like you say, if technology exists currently to do this kind of thing or something very similar to what you think you might want to solve, it's that whole passion to find out what the problem is. How can you solve it using existing technology? What do you need to do? How can you, how do you understand what works from a cloud perspective rather than do I need to hook this up maybe to an edge device? Do I need to do some local processing? There's so many fantastic learning opportunities. And I was, I had the pleasure of Jim Bennett joining me a couple of weeks ago where he taught me through, he'd worked with him and his team have gone through like a really great detailed IoT for beginners where, it kind of went into a number of great examples of, how to kind of get started with some of this technology. I mean, what does it for you, Bruno, in terms of, clearly you're a passionate guy and you've got such a great enthusiasm for this, but what is the driving factor behind, is it solving problems? Is it helping others? What does it for you in the world of IoT, and why should more people be kind of drawn into this world of AI and IoT, do you think?
That's a great question. And hey, for me, it's probably depends what I want to do. So in example, as I mentioned, I did a lot of machine learning in Python. And when you are doing machine learning in Python, you are mostly working with specific frameworks to manage data. You have pandas, you have NumPy, but you never work with sockets or networking or something like this, because it doesn't make sense. You are not doing machine learning with sockets. There is none. So I was doing Python and I decided, okay, I know my stuff. I want to know more. I want to see if I want to create an application for Windows. How do I do multi-threading, sockets, this kind of stuff? So what can I do to learn this stuff? So I pick up, I don't have it here, but I pick up a super crappy drone. It's a toy drone that doesn't have an SDK, but there was a specification document with the specs that how you can connect to the drone via Wi-Fi and how you can send commands with UDP and how you can receive information from the drone and make the drone fly, even access the camera of the drone. And it was a super crappy project, but I talk about this probably for a year and a half. But I use this as an excuse for myself to have fun programming a drone. Also, it's a very small drone, so if I hit the drone in the wall, I am not going to break anything. If I need to buy a new drone, it's $70 or something like this, so it's not super expensive. And it was my excuse to learn a new set of technologies on top of Python, multi-threading, sockets, and a couple more to basically use with these drones that I was hoping to use this later in other projects on the edge. So if I need to learn this to do Python on the edge in a specific device, I can probably go and do a tutorial from sockets, 101, multi-threading 101, or try to figure out using a crappy drone device, how can I learn that? So that's me. That's how I try to face a new problem. This is how I can do this. So an example, you just mentioned Jim and the IoT for beginners. I was looking forward to create something for my squirrels in the back, and the IoT for beginners was the place that, oh my God, this is everything that I did is on top of what is there to have this. This is a squirrel or this is a bird, because I use a video terminal device. I did a lot of C++. Now I'm doing a lot of Azure I'm doing a lot of edge impulse with computer vision on the edge with this, and they have a lot of stuff there. So it's also set for something, pick up on a scenario, learn, and then help solve a problem. Now, most of my job is helping communities, helping people to get there fast to this. So probably like something like this, have a conversation and try to help them to go this direction or that direction, or connect with someone or a product team that really know their stuff. But in the past, is just, okay, how we can solve this, how we can do this, get some time, get some inspiration, try to see what you can do. As you mentioned, there is also, this is amazing, there is plenty of stuff around. You can do a lot today. It's not easy. Sometimes you face to a big wall of, oh my God, how will I solve this? But people are there to help, communities are there to help. Twitter is a great place, probably not the best place to ask for help, because Twitter is kind of a jungle, but I love it. It's so much fun.
Well, I know before you moved to Microsoft, you were an MVP, and you were MVP for a long time before that, Bruno. I'm right in thinking that, aren't I? So clearly, you're a passionate person that is willing to put things back out into the community, and hence why you've ended up working in the position that you're in, doing all the great work that you're doing. But what is it about community then, specifically, Bruno, that kind of keeps you focused in that area, to move into a role to work with community a lot closer that you're doing at the moment?
I mean, the communities are super different all around the globe. I was super lucky when I was living in Spain to know a lot of, to be part of a lot of Spanish communities, then move all around Europe, working there. I also know a lot of people there, moved to Canada, meet a lot of new ones. North America is different. But there is always this sense of, let's all help each other. Let's all learn this. Let's all try to figure out how we can do A, B's, and C's. And also in the last years, because of the pandemic, and we lost this go and have some pizza and chat face-to-face, so we need to switch. We started to realize that, hey, there is a healthy part of the communities where we try to be better all the time. And when I say we try to be better all the time, I like that it's not all about how we can get the best speakers to talk about ABCs, but it's also, hey, we realize that we have a problem. We have a lack of representation in these categories, so probably gender or some kind of ethnicity or whatever. So how we can solve this, how we can put our efforts there to solve. And the communities are all about this. It's all about how we can all do something together. And I like it, and I love it. I am working a lot in the last couple of months with Latin American students for the Microsoft Student Ambassador, which is kind of an MVP that Microsoft have, but for students. Mm-hmm. I don't know how I get there. And it's also weird because I'm a 45 years old dude talking with students that probably a couple of them can be my kids, something like that. But they have an energy, they have a passion, they have a lot of ideas that it's amazing. And I love it. And I know it's different. Everywhere it's different. And there are places, there are communities for A to B and C. But I always love to be there because I always feel that I can do 2 or do 3 for the community, but I will get for myself, I will get 5, 10, or 20. I learn a lot working with people. And also the community the community is usually not business oriented. So it's much more easy to change on the fly. When you are working in business, you have a goal, you have a deadline, you have a year, 2 years, 6 months, or whatever. So you need to follow that direction. I really enjoy when I see community that start with a goal, but in the meantime, in half of the process, I realize that this is not a good way to do this, so they can easily switch from A to B to C. They have this agility, which I love it. And hey, I like to be there. I have fun. I enjoy to talk with people, learn, and see how we can do something together.
It's definitely one of those areas, isn't it? That it's like the gift that keeps on giving. If you're part of community, like you said there, I like the way that you said that. However much you put in, you kind of get 10 times back out of it yourself. And I think it's a really valid message for anybody watching this. That just literally taking part and being an active participant in anything from a community perspective. Maybe not just centered around technology, but it seems to have this way, doesn't it? This profound way of helping you out, probably far more than you feel that you're putting back in. So, look, it turns around to some of the awesome work that you're doing at the moment, Bruno. Like I say, I've been watching your content for at least the last year or so. I've been on one or two of your user group talks. You've been doing some fantastic things. I know you've got a room full of great tech and clever tech and things and devices that you can play with. What kind of message would you have to somebody looking to start out for the first time, maybe into AI or IoT or that device space and looking to do something? Would you have any kind of messaging for how they get started or things to look out for?
Yes, I would probably, of course, we have a lot of amazing documentation in Microsoft Docs and Microsoft Learn. That's a great place to start. As you said, IoT for beginners is a great place because you start with building something real, building something that is going to be at the end a real solution, so you learn in the process. But I would probably say to everyone, hey, spend the time that you think you need to learn the basics, to get the knowledge, but also build something real. Pick up any crappy idea that you have and try to make it real. Try to see if it's probably not going to work, but the journey to try to do something is the place that you can really, really learn something. And also join a community. If part of this journey, you join a community of IoT, whatever. Go to Meetup and try to find an IoT community there. And you start to know people and you start to collaborate with people. It's going to be much more easy. And not Meetup, you can find Discord groups, you can find a lot of places. But building something, studying is kind of a must-have, but then try to build something. It's super important. And also try to learn to collaborate with the community. It will save you time, a lot of time. I learned this in the bad way, trying to solve everything by myself. And then, hey, if you raise some hand, ask a question, there will be something like you, like Jean, or whoever that's going to, Alicia, or whoever say, no, you can try A, B, or C. So build something and go to a community. That's probably the two side actions that is going to help you a lot in this journey. And it also applies to AI. If you want to do something in AI, join a study group, try to do something there, but at the same time, do something. I don't know. You have an issue at your house, or you have an idea that you want to, I don't know. If you want to check that every time that you have an Amazon package in the front of your house, spend $20, get a crappy camera, get a crappy IoT device, try to figure out if you can do something to detect that you have a camera, a package there. I know it's already there. I think a couple of doorbells are already doing this, but if you build it, you will learn a lot. And hey, maybe in the process, you switch to something that is also make more sense as a business, whatever. But I always suggest people build something, try to do something. And it's also not, depending where you're going, it's not very expensive.
It is. And do you know what? You say that, Bruno, but what did it for me? I think I'm one of those personality types that when there's something shown, like a shiny toy or something new, it's like, I've got to have that. And it's a real concern because as much as like I look in front of me now and my desk is filled with, I've got Raspberry Pis, I've got Arduino boards, I've got Pico Pis and Jetson Nanos, and it can add up, let's face it. You can go and buy this tech. I even bought a 3D printer, Bruno. That's how far I went. I got hooked into, and look, it was all, and it still is all, I find it just fascinating as an individual. But I know that we don't necessarily have to spend a huge amount on hardware as such, although, let's face it, if you are going to get into IoT, it probably makes a lot of sense that you do have some things to play with,
Yes.
that is kind of part of it. But are there any ways that we can learn some of this thing with, online tech or, without spending a lot of money that you're aware of, Bruno?
Yes, I can remember. I will probably send it to you later, but a couple of weeks ago, one colleague from Microsoft, he shared a tweet, a Twitter thread with probably the best 5 or 6 online emulators for Raspberry Pi, Arduino, and a couple of other dashboards. And I didn't know most of them, and I play around with a couple of them, and oh my God, mind blowing. It wasn't just the device, but it gave you the sense of a lot of stuff that you can do. And hey, most of them were free. So you can do your GPIO test there, whatever. You can even give you the sense that, hey, put a LED here, put a sensor there, or something like this. I will try to find. I think it was Sebastian Calvé. He was super popular last year because he created this artificial nose, which is using a Wio terminal and a sensor and edge impulse to create a machine learning model to identify if you are drinking coffee or whiskey. I can't remember the scenario.
No, I did see that. That was great. Yeah, I did see that.
And he also shared this link or this set of this group of online emulators. And you are right. I so used to get and buy a lot of crappy set of devices that is part of my way to do stuff. But yes, online stuff is super important. And as you mentioned, even if they are not very expensive, if someone wants to start, not really sure, try to do something like this. It's good. So hey, I will, as soon as we finish, I will share this with you if you have some notes there to share, because as I mentioned, I saw a couple of them. I play around with a couple of them that they blow my mind.
I only saw the Raspberry Pi one before now, because that's why I thought I'd mention it, because I know, look, at the end of the day, whenever you're going to need some tech and start it out, we know that, even Raspberry Pis, to some people, £30, or $60, something like that, that can be, a significant chunk. And, I think just be mindful that there are emulators out there. And even for those watching, just doing a search, just like you say, Bruno, isn't it? Just to kind of dip your toe and get a feel for how you can start to maybe program, just to bring your programming skills up to speed with what would be an actual device, if you can't part with some of the finances to pay for some of these devices. But look, I'm with you, by the way, Bruno. I find so much fun and excitement when there's something new that you can hold in your hand and kind of plug in and release the magic smoke, as they call it, from time to time, with soldering components on and stuff like that. But yeah, it's a whole other world, isn't it? I think it's just such an exciting place to be. And if you can, like you say, do the learnings and get to the point where you're actually solving a real world problem, like the object detection ones at the moment are fascinating me, and certainly, areas that I need to gem up on, I think it's probably fair to say, in terms of my own understandings and learnings. But Bruno, it's been super fun having a chat with you, as I knew it was going to be anyway, because it's always a great topic area, great person across the community. There's always one question that I like to ask all my guests when they come on the show, and that's really, it's a big open-ended question of, where do you see us going? We're doing all this learning, we're running down the road at 100 miles an hour, learning all this cool new tech. What are your next big bets in tech, over the next 5 to 10 years, Bruno? What's your vision on that?
That's a great question, and it's also a controversial one. It's not controversial, but when I talk about this the last couple of times, I have a lot of people basically, no. As I said, I've been programming. I am writing code for the last 20 plus years, and I started late in programming. I don't have these stories when people are having, 10 years old, 8 years old, and they have these Sinclair or Commodore 64 devices. I started in my 20s, but I think that we are going to code less and less, and probably going to spend much more time connecting pieces, connecting stuff all together. I'm not talking about just doing low code, no code, but I'm talking about, we are going to still doing code, but we are going to spend a little more time basically existing pieces, solution or whatever, putting it all together, because it makes sense. Because it's help us to be more productive because we are going to save a lot of time. So in example today, I don't want to write 50 lines of code to do an OAuth authorization because I hate tokens and I am not using that. So I am not good at that. So I use a library. I would find a library, I use a library, I cross my fingers so the library is good and it's not going to have a problem. That model that we are using, that way that we are starting to do more focused coding on A, B's, and C. So I am not also doing it like I did 10 years ago. I am not doing Internet Information Server configuration. I am doing Azure Function because it's just the piece of code that is going to run on the cloud to do what I want. We are focusing more and more on solving problems with their stuff. So we are going to start to use more and more prepackaged modules to do A, B's, and C. And I'm guessing that there will be a moment that we are probably not going to code anything. We are going to basically connect the dots and do that. And this is not 5 years from today. This is probably tomorrow or something like this. Last week, I was trying to figure out an easy way to pick up a set of messages from Azure IoT and save it to a Cosmos DB. So I started to do an Azure function. I started to do some coding and whatever. Fine, kind of working. And at some moment, someone said to me, why don't you create a Logic app? Logic app, it's basically a flow-based environment where you connect boxes and you're not doing any programming. You are just basically connecting. And it took me 10 minutes to pick up my Azure IoT information and save it into a Cosmos DB with no code at all. And it works and it scales. And it's even, I think it's cheaper than the Azure function.
Yeah.
And I am a developer, so I have this weird feeling that, oh my God, I want to code this. But in the other side, but this also works. Think about 5 years from today, how this trend is going to evolve. We're probably going to be a place that we are not doing coding anymore. We are probably going to have Copilot helping us, GitHub Copilot helping us with a lot of stuff, plus connecting dots. So I'm going to, for the people who are building, who are people like us who are doing solution, it's going to be much more focused on connecting the dots. The problem / challenge there will be which dots we need to connect. So we need to study, we need to learn, we need to choose our tools, we need to learn how to learn this or this, which is super hard today. I don't know you, but today, one of my main concerns, not concerns, but I spend a lot of time is, okay, what should I learn next? Should I learn Bicep from Azure, or should I learn Cosmos DB, or should I learn another technology? It's hard because I don't know what I'm going to need in the future.
And you know, that normally is a question that comes up quite a lot when I speak to people on this series, because you're right, and I don't think there's any answer to that at the moment. I think we're all kind of find our own pathway through this plethora of technological advances. You know, we've got this kit bag of stuff that we can do in an Azure platform, and I'm sure it's going to get better, because normally what happens, we end up with those kind of de facto things and those standard ways of working after a certain period of time where trials and testing and whatever has happened, and then eventually you say, okay, there's our standard, that's the way that we're going to be working. I guess we're just, I don't know, it just feels like we're in amongst that wild west of cloud at the moment, where there are 20 tool sets to achieve the same goals, and there's another 20 with overlapping capabilities. And I think you're right, there is a certain element of confusion, I think, going on in the industry at the moment, and I guess that's probably a good thing to help people try and get to grips with, because I think certainly to somebody new looking at the industry, I'm sure that can be quite overwhelming, wouldn't you have thought, Bruno?
Oh yes, one of the questions, as I said, I am joining a lot of students communities right now. And one of the questions that I see more and more is, should I use A, B, or C to do this? Because A, B, or C are doing the same. So, an example, I am not a web developer, but the React or Angular question,
yes,
it's there. And with language, and we've been dealing with this a lot for a long time, but I think today you are right. We have a lot of platforms and tools and frameworks that are doing basically the same, maybe with small tweaks here, there. So you need to choose. And how do you choose? You are going back to the communities, talk with someone, talk with the community, ask questions there, and see what people are, what is the experience. Maybe you find that even if you are comfortable here, the best way to go is this one, because whatever is going to happen in the future. I don't know. It's hard, but I'm guessing that my guess or suggestion will be part of a community and take a decision with the community. At the end of the day, if you are wrong, it's not going to be just you. It's going to be a team wrong option. So, hey, everybody's going to learn something. And you can give back there that, hey, we choose this, it didn't work, so we are going to that. You are helping the community back for the next one with a similar question.
Yeah, indeed. Put that back. If you're trying to do something specific, then just go for what you feel. I suppose it relates back to the very beginning of the conversation, Bruno, where following your passion, about things and move on to the next thing. But Bruno, it's been super fun having a chat to you. Thanks again for sparing me the time and coming on and saying hello for half an hour or so. But look, are there any last parting words of wisdom you'd like to impart before we finish this session off?
No, just I think that this is going to be published just after build. So, hey, watch the sessions. Have your second monitor there. We've just been talking about learning. Have your second monitor there. Pick up a couple of sessions that you think they are good enough and leave it there. Just listen to them, because there will be a lot, and there are a lot of amazing content there. And hey, it's the place that every year Microsoft try to do a big show off of new tools, improvement of tools, and everything else. So take a look at the build stuff. It's going to be amazing.
No, that's great advice. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, this should be out just after build. So, yeah, Bruno, thank you for everything you do for the community. Please keep up the awesome work that you're involved with at the moment. And thanks for being an awesome guest.
Thanks for inviting me. Thanks everyone for watching here. And hey, see you next one.
Yep, see you soon, Bruno. Thanks a lot.